He's back. That's right. Beetlejuice. And it is a ride. I am so excited to talk about this with you guys. You have no idea. All right, guys, buckle up because we're here to talk about Beetlejuice. Let's get into it. What's up, my know-it-alls? Okay, I'm beside myself. Saw the movie, me and Mrs. Know-it-all, and it's a ride. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking about this on the show with Salty on Nerdfight. So please make sure you're here tomorrow, rather tomorrow day around noon. We're going to live stream and just do nothing but talk all about this. I am going to spoil this, by the way. This is not a non-spoiler review, but so if you think it's a non-spoiler review, go someplace else. I'm spoiling this. Where do I begin? This movie manages to do something that most of these sequelized, like 30 years later sequels fail to do. And that is, at its core, this feels like they could have just wrapped on the first Beetlejuice movie last month or last year even. And by that I just mean it rolls right into, and there's so much that they pack into. The movie's a little over an hour and a half, it's like an hour and 45 minutes, and they pack so much into it that I was blown away by. So let's talk about it. The movie begins with Lydia Dietz, and she's hosting a show called Ghost House, and it takes place in a thing and whatnot. And it's funny, they did the whole town move up thing during the title credits. It's great. Very reminiscent to the first one. And even though sometimes, because in the original one, it was the model, and then this one, it's the model sometimes, but then there's actual people walking in the street and cars in the road and other ones. So I'm not really sure which was which, but either way, it was a lot of fun. She's in the attic, but it's not the attic, it's a set. Winona Ryder does an amazing job she plays older, jaded Lydia. Why do I say she does an amazing job? Because while she's being older and jaded, you remember and they call her out several times for, where's that little goth girl? Where's this blah, 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 this and that. Because that's the one thing I have to realize is with Lydia, I really wanted to see where she had gone and what happened. They call back the Maitlands, which is just to say that according to Lydia, they found a loophole and moved on. That's all we get. And that's okay. We're introduced to Astrid, her daughter. And then we're also reintroduced to Catherine O'Hara, her mother, her stepmother, rather, who you also find out, strangely enough, that Lydia's real biological mother apparently is still alive somewhere, which we've never ever talked about once. But they've clearly reconciled to some extent, her and Delia. So Lydia and Delia are very much they've come to terms with who they were and where they are now. Delia is this like crazy artist person, like. Imagine the character she was to its nth degree. Like she's just beyond insane how she's gone and evolved to be that person. And so when she gets a phone call while filming her show, Lydia, and it's her mother telling her that her father is dead. So obviously Jeffrey Jones, who played the original Charles Dietz, is gone. And so what this movie does is, rather than trying to do, Salty pointed out, I was talking about it, rather than trying to do like what they did with the character of Bishop or whatnot, or Ash in Alien, they CGI brought back whatever this character was. They didn't do that. They simply said, okay, he dies. And what you get is this really interesting flashback of how he died. And it looks like it reminds me of those old claymation commercials from back in the 90s. And he died in the ocean, bitten by a shark. So in the Netherworld, when he shows up, I call it the Netherworld because I was a fan of the cartoon back in the day. When he shows up, he's not whole. It's just this bite out of a person walking, and you hear this version of his voice, so you can get away with. It was brilliant. I was like, that is so smart. It is so smart. This is one of those, it's one of the few times where a movie that's a sequel, it hits all the right things. And I really enjoyed this. The town looks identical, which is crazy. So they're going to have a funeral. And of course, Lydia is in a relationship with her manager, there's a character played by Justin Theroux. Justin Theroux is sort of the analog for the really eccentric movie guy from the first one, the one who was played by Glenn Shattuck's Otho. And he's sort of, I say analog because he's about as much of a character or a cartoon as you could possibly get. The other thing is Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Out the gate is very, very much, he sells it. I was worried he was going to look old and stuff. And while, yes, there are lines, his tone hasn't changed. His delivery hasn't changed. He inhabits the character in a ridiculously amazing way. Again, I'm a big fan of how they constructed this whole thing. They introduce a ton of new lore. Obviously there's a new person working behind the counter in the office. They still do the numbers thing. Beetlejuice apparently is working in the netherworld as, I guess he's sort of a ghost, like person that you reach out to help. He's a haunter person, whatever. And he has all the little shrunken head guys, including Bob, who allegedly, I guess, is the original one. And they all work for him in these yellow, very Century 21 looking jackets. And then eventually the character that Monica Bellucci plays, she plays Dolores. We get an origin story for Beetlejuice. The scene dropped online. They dropped it online. If you can literally search it out and see it. And the whole idea is that he was a grave robber. She was part of a witch's coven who kills you and does sacrifices, whatever, to take your soul to live forever, whatever they do. It's so incidental and sidebarred. Her origin doesn't matter. His is the far more fascinating origin to have seen. And so she eventually kills him, she poisons him before he dies. He takes an axe and just chops her to bits and pieces, okay? All right. She, through dumb luck, and that's probably the only thing that I felt was really contrived. Danny DeVito has a cameo as he's the new janitor in that crazy hallway. And he, like, blue-faced, he drinks Drano, the whole 9 yards. It's kind of crazy. But while he's using the waxing machine, he bumps a shelf and it falls over these several boxes where all of Dolores's parts are kept. So the parts, very reminiscent of the patchwork doll lady in Nightmare Before Christmas. She puts herself back together, gets a staple gun, staples herself all back together, and she says she wants to find Beetlejuice. She sucks the soul out of Danny DeVito guy, and then that's what she proceeds to do. Then apparently the otherworld or netherworld police get involved. Enter Willem Dafoe's Wolf Jackson. Apparently Wolf Jackson was an actor in life. And in being an actor, the biggest role he had was being a cop. So what does he want to do when he's in the afterlife? Because while he was playing this cop, he apparently wanted to do something. He was like, I want to be real. I want to be genuine. Keep it real. And he jumps on a live grenade, not realizing it's a live grenade. It kills him. He's dead. Now he's here. So he's become a ghost cop, if you will. We're introduced to the character of Astrid, who is Jenna Ortega's character, and Jenna Ortega's character hates her mother. This is probably one of the only relationships that felt extraordinarily lopsided for me. They don't give us sufficient excuses or reasons. Her husband slash Lydia's ex, who is Jenna Ortega's father, played by Santiago Cabrera. Those of you who watch Star Trek Picard, you'll remember him. He died. And Lydia, being this medium now, can't see or talk to him. But Jenna Ortega's character hates her mother, thinks she's a fraud, thinks everything she does is fake, doesn't believe in any of this stuff, because apparently they never once went into the attic. So if there's any story shortcomings for me, it's stuff like that, those little holes that make you go, really? But the movie's so much fun that you don't actually care. Remember, what have I always said? A fun movie forgives an awful lot of sins. And this movie's no different. There are a ton of sins in this movie. You don't care. because it's just that good. You're having a heck of a time. Michael Keaton is pitch perfect still. And as you go through things and events that happen, because they all go back to the town where the house is for Richard's funeral. They're having the funeral. Justin Theroux's character decides he wants to try to marry Lydia, and he puts her on the spot. There's this whole big angry thing. Astrid hates her mother and is like, this is ridiculous, whatever, and leaves. When Astrid runs away, not really runs away, just gets on a bike and leaves, she encounters a young man. She slams into a tree at a tree house, and the young he's like, wow. And she's like, oh, hey, what's going on? He comes down. The kid is dead. The kid's a ghost. And apparently so were his parents that they walked by in the house. I will gladly admit, because they did a wonderful job, didn't see it coming. Did not see it coming. There's probably 1,000,001 of you in the Know-It-All Nation who absolutely are like, oh, I saw it all day. Great. I did not. And I was blown away by it. So when it's revealed, you're like, wait, what? Yeah, because apparently they're going to go on a date for Halloween and the whole 9 yards. Since the beginning of the movie, Lydia keeps having these visions. Every now and again, she'll see somebody in a striped shirt or whatever else, and she sees Beetlejuice. And she's very much of the mindset, oh no, what's going to happen, whatever else. And so she apparently takes pills to help tamp down her ability to see dead people. And so she finally gets back to and then at some point her and Astrid are upstairs in the attic, and that's when Astrid says the name.
Who's Beetlejuice? Don't ever say that name. Beetlejuice.
And Lydia's like, are you crazy? Don't do that, blah, 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 whatever. Dude shows up. Astrid leaves, upsets. Dude shows up. Justin Theroux's character, and there he's like, we've been to couples counseling, blah, 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 this and this. And he talks to her, and he goes, I'm going to pull this Band-Aid off for you. And he says his name, the dude's name 3 times.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Is that Beetlejuice?
They're in the model. And sure enough, it's a big electric sign. It says couples, whatever. The floor drops out. They're in front of him. Couples counseling. It's crazy. That's the scene you see where it's like, I'm willing to put him to work. And he shows his guts or whatever else. So you immediately know he's out. Lydia wants to leave. One thing leads to another. Ghost Kid tricks Astrid. Tricks her and proceeds to get her to go into the Nether Realm so that he tricks her into thinking she's going to see her father, which by the way, she totally is. Because there's a thing that they have in the book for the handbook for the recently deceased that apparently will let you switch places. Oh yeah. You can give your life so that this ghost can leave. But he doesn't tell her any of this. So he goes in. Lydia gets there just in time to see it, and she realizes there's only one solution, and she calls on Beetlejuice.
I need you to help me save my daughter.
But how do I know that you're going to keep your word?
I swear on my dead mother's soul. Yes. Bob, you and the boys stand guard. Nobody gets through.
All the Century 21 shrunken head guys run out. So they're all over the town running crazy. It's Halloween, so why not? Meanwhile, Delia got herself a pair of vipers to go they're supposed to be defanged, to have a ceremony in Richard's name. She gets bit by both the vipers and dies. She's just too little. That's it. She looks perfect. And she's in the afterlife and she's freaking out, and she's the biggest Karen in the afterlife you could ever ask for. It's ridiculous. It's this whole thing, this whole cat and mouse. Beetlejuice has never been cooler than when he's helping them track down Dude. Because all Dude's got to do is get his stamp done. Meanwhile, Astrid's being carted to the Soul Train. Oh yeah, it was unreal. And this music and the whole bit, and the credits, they actually thank Don Cornelius' estate. It's wonderful. So when they're going through all this, he's about to get his stamp done. He opens it like, haha, it's too late. And he looks at his passport and it says Okay, and Beetlejuice goes boom, and he hits the button. He goes straight down into hell. Salty had a problem with that part. He's like, "Are you trying to tell me Beetlejuice can just send people to hell?" And I was like, "Whoa, time out. I don't believe that was a result of Beetlejuice, as much as it was a result of who Beetlejuice was pretending to be." Because Beetlejuice was pretending to be these passport people who are the ones that either send you to the great beyond, send you to the hell and damnation, send you to whatever, all these different places that the soul train takes you. Okay? So by virtue of where he was, I think that's why he was able to do the thing. I don't actually think he was able to do the thing because he's Beetlejuice. By the way, you do get sandworms. They're wonderful. They look very much still stop motion, whether they were or not. I don't know if it's CG made to look like stop motion or actually stop motion, but either way, the aesthetic was great. The production design was brilliant. Everything looks very much like the Beetlejuice universe we all know and love. Again, totally, I was all about this. This whole thing was brilliant. The one thing that I really enjoyed when it came toward the end was the music in this is ridiculous. The Bee Gees have never sounded better. And just so much good music. Finally, they end up at the church. At the church, Beetlejuice, there's tons of influencers. Justin Theroux's character's there. Beetlejuice sends them all sucked into their phones. That's the end of them. Probably the best thing for influencers. And then at some point or another, he proceeds to sing this whole thing, and it is stupid cool. It's unbelievable. And that's when Dolores shows up. Oh yeah. You think I just didn't talk about her? She's so unimportant and inconsequential. She's a thing just so that we can remember and have some tension throughout the thing when she shows up and sucks the spirit out of somebody, and that's it. But she's nothing. And in fact, when you get to the church finally, they end up dumping, because Beetlejuice is truth serum on Justin Theroux's character, and he ends up coming out with that he was literally just looking for someone who's easy at a sorrow camp because for grieving people and whatnot. And he was using Lydia to eventually, make money, and he would make more money being her husband. So Dolores and him end up together. They get eaten by a sandworm. Beetlejuice tries to take everybody and do their whatevers. And it's kind of ridiculous. But Astrid, who's brilliant, happens to read, she does see her father, by the way. He helps them escape. Astrid reads the actual handbook. She can understand a lot of it because she also has her mother's abilities, and she literally is like, yeah, no, this is a null and void contract. You can't do the thing you did, whatever. And he ends up going back. She says it, they go back. He ends up going back to wherever he goes. And that's it. You then get this ending, which shows her and her mother going off to all the places that Astrid and her father had wanted to go, including Dracula's castle, and she falls in love with the guy, the whole 9 yards, and apparently we're in the future, and she's going to have a baby. She gives birth to a Beetlejuice baby, and then wakes up, and Lydia wakes up, and it was a nightmare, and Beetlejuice was there, but then he's not. It's this whole thing. It's very interesting. I firmly of the mindset that they are going to do another one. And I hope they do. I hope they do a third one. I hope they wrap the whole thing up. I hope they do a great job with it, because this was brilliant. I'm really shocked by how good this movie was. So there you go. Now you know. And if knowing half the battle, you're halfway to know it all yourself. What's an all index for this for Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice. For me, this is a solid 8 out of 10.
What the f?
I enjoyed the pants off this. I thought it was really good. The little minor things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think 10 out of 10 would be ridiculous because the first movie was easily a 10 out of 10. But this one it's a very original premise for a sequel. Everybody's firing on all thrusters and doing amazing. So yeah, comment below. Let me know what you thought. I would absolutely love to hear your thought and your take on it. And don't forget, check us out tomorrow at noon right here on Nerdfights, where Salty Trucker and I are going to have a conversation. We're going to talk all about this thing. It's funny, I don't know if we're going to be much fighting going on, because I think we actually both very much agree about how great and brilliant this thing is. So would love to hear your thoughts. I can't wait, guys. All right. Until next time, never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.